safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who is interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees are 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners, and they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
We've got quorum, all right? That's good enough for me. Good morning. I am here to welcome everyone to the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee meeting of Tuesday, April 16th at 8:30 a.m. We will start with public comment. Is there any public that would like to address the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee this morning? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. That will bring us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Any items have to be pulled? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item 3 on the agenda from the Administrator's Office. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to approve an agreement for administration for the Ready for 5 childhood millage services with First Steps Kent, and authorize the board chair or designate to execute the agreement. Kent County voters approved the Ready by 5 early childhood millage proposal on November 6, 2018. It is a 6-year millage for 0.25 mils that was included in the Kent County property tax bills beginning December 2018. The county proposes to enter into an agreement with First Steps Kent to serve as the Ready by 5 administrative entity for development, coordination, implementation, and administration of the service delivery system for millage-funded programs and services. These millage funds are intended to improve utilization of existing programs, scale proven programs, and expand programs that have waiting lists. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the Ready by 5 millage administrative services agreement as to form and content.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Bukowski.
Hey, Chair.
Sure.
I had seen Anne Marie driving in this. Oh, there she is, way in the back. Anyways, good morning. Good morning. And I don't know who these questions go to. My first question on a general perspective, why so long to get the dollars rolling out there? They were collected in December, and I know we had to set things up. That being said, we seem to have a pretty good model with the senior millage, and not that we just have to go from 60 and up to 5 and below, but we kind of have to just go from 60 and up to 5 and below. So, and put the committee structure and all that stuff together. So anyways.
It's a really good question. I think there's been a few things we've been working through that have been really positive. One is the parent engagement, wanting parents to be a part of the committee, and I think that's been good, and we've developed a way to do that that will provide them with the expertise they need. Also, I think pay for performance and how we've been doing that and talking about how to set that up, and then also the outcome framework that we've been looking at. So between those three things, and making sure we were on point, I think that was the reason. Just like when the senior millage launched, it took basically about a year. We went back and did the research to get the money allocated in a process, and it just takes time to get subcontracts and other types of things and RFPs written. So you're going to start to see a lot of activity soon.
Go ahead.
Sure, thanks. All right, thank you for that. Two more minute details, maybe minute. Fund balance. You know, it's always good to have a fund balance, but coincidentally, you know, it's pegged at a $500,000 reserve, and we say we need reserves for when it rains, and coincidentally, it is raining today. However, it's also, you know, and I know it's not these dollars, but to say that, you know, there's a $500,000 thing, at least between my ears, related to the lead issue. We have plenty of reserves as a county, and that's a different issue than this. I understand it. However, we keep saying we need reserves for when it rains, and it just keeps raining, but we need our reserves, and we keep them nice and dry. So how do we get this stuff out there? I don't know if I go into my conflicts of interest when it relates to senior millage, but a conversation with the folks at Area Agency on Aging, that contract says if you spend more than the county gives you, you owe it AAA. We're not backstopping you if you make mistakes. And so how much of that reserve needs to say, okay, first steps, if we give you $20 and you spend 21, don't come to us for that dollar. You know, so prudent reserves I'm 100% in favor of, but I think we've gone from prudence to, I don't know the right word, during this week called holy. So I'll leave it at that.
Your point is well taken. These are, like you said, there are two different pots of money. Of course, the county's reserve fund's different than this. I think what we are trying to do is make sure that there's a fair enough cushion there, so if something does happen, we don't know what, you do have the ability to maintain the services and programs that you've started, that you don't shut down a particular agency that we contract with. You've got the reserves to do it. There may be more to it. I've not been in the conversations with the team that's working on this. Beth, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so talking to fiscal services, we thought just like seniors, 1 month of revenue would be plenty. You know, just 1 month. So once we have that established, then everything else will be pushed out. 1 month of service delivery. So that's where we're striving for collectively, just 1 month. And so everything else will be pushed out.
But initially,
initially
there's a larger
fund
balance.
So the first year, the first tax year, if you will, That'll be setting up the fund balance, getting all the administrative startup costs ready, getting the first program money out. And then the way we structured this with First Steps involvement and support is that the remainder part of the lapse money, if you will, from year one will then be equally spread out with a planned projection of growth so that we can get more services into the community and sustain those services for the next 5 years. So our goal is to push the money out in a sustainable way that gets more services out. And this first year is set up growth that gets the first wave of services.
All right. Last thing, maybe this goes back to more to the theoretical realm. I don't remember reading it, but it caught my ear when you said it. The pay per performance model. Really intrigued by that because I've got a lot of opinions related to like the social impact model and who, in theory, this was sold to us and to the voters as saying this is going to save money. You know, if we invest in children, and I happily bought it and happily voted yes and all that stuff, both at this table and at the ballot box. That being said, you know, it's to say, yeah, how hard is it to really generate that? How confident are we in that pay per performance model, and we have enough data to say, yep, this is really where we want to go, and as opposed to good old traditional. Again, we're gonna evaluate it. I see plenty of dollars, or hopefully plenty of dollars for evaluation. We want to make sure we're not just doing good things that feel good, that we know they're really impactful, and we defund stuff that's not impactful and add additional dollars to the impactful stuff. However, is that pay per performance a good model for this?
So in the contract itself, well, two things. One is there's been lots of interest outside of the county, state, and nationally about giving us more money to invest to add to our county tax dollars, if you will, through this pay for success model. So that intrigues us because we could expand services potentially. The hiccup is what's the payback on that and how do we do that? So in the contract as we developed it, First Steps is doing all the research, investigating all that, and then before we'd execute anything, we'd have to approve that contract to make sure that it meets the standards of PA2 and other things. So that's part of their research, and they're working on it. So right now it's push our services out, make sure our services have meeting needs and having outcomes. And if we can figure out how to leverage additional dollars, we're going to try to do that and set up a system that we can get more money in. And what the question is, what's the catch? And so we have to approve the catch, or so we all understand it before we move forward with it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good morning. My concern comes in the oversight. To what degree does the county have oversight? And in that oversight, do we have personnel who know education enough to give good oversight? You know, my concern in the beginning was it's more primarily in education. And do you have people on board that know education enough to oversee something like this?
Mr. Voorhees, just like with the senior millage, we're contracting with First Steps, and they're hiring technical experts in the areas to do that, and there will be an annual audit that is done with reports given back to the review committee of the services delivered and if there's any problems and if they met the standards. First Steps is looking to hire those people right now. They've got their job ads up and whatnot. On our end, Sandra Ghostin Jones formerly worked for AAA West Michigan and is very intimately knows how the senior millage operates, and she's been coaching them about standards, auditing, to make sure we have that oversight that you're talking about. And we also in the contract have the ability to audit as the county anytime we wish as well. So I believe we'll have good oversight with technical experts from either education, early childhood, social work, things like that.
There will also be members on the review committee from this board.
Yes, 2 county commissioners.
That would be my second. I know about AAA, and I served on the board that we oversaw the work of that. Are we going to have that kind of involvement as we go along? Because I think this is a little
There'll be 2 county commissioners, 1 subject matter expert, 4 parents, county leadership staff, and a member of the First Steps Commission. Same model as what the senior millage has, with the same process designed. County Commissioners.
Well, I know I worked with Sandra back, so okay, just my concern in that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Womack?
Yes, when I was reading it, it talked about the funding to continue some of the programs that are going on and expanding some of those programs. But when the millage was being pushed, it was being pushed as a innovative new approach to helping out with some of these disparities in education. So I know our briefing that we got this week is, just a small synapse of, this way bigger picture, but I wanted to hear a little bit about what is new and innovating that is going to come out of this millage, because I think the voters were kind of promised there would be some new things.
Thanks, Commissioner Womack. Good morning, everyone. The important piece is that all of the programs that will be funded are evidence-based, and that is the piece where we want to show that there is outcomes that we can monitor and display that we've moved the needle for children. So some of the things that are innovative, right now there are programs happening separately, but there's not necessarily coordination across the early childhood landscape. The important piece would be to make sure that they're linked, that there's connection between the programs so there aren't gaps and so that there's not duplication. And this will be a much more effective way, and it is innovative because most communities don't have that connection for the navigation for parents being able to get into the early childhood system. And when I talk about that, I mean referrals. So parents that need to get services for their children, if they've been screened for developmental delays, that they are referred to the appropriate service. And that is really important. And there are communities across the country that have funding for early childhood, but they don't necessarily have that navigation piece. And I think that's the most innovative thing that we're going to see in Kent County.
Okay, so the utilization of bringing them together, is there going to be continued community outreach like there was when it was, the push to make sure this got voted for? There was a lot of community contact. Is there going to be continued community outreach so we can make sure that we're looking at important things like the dropout rate, disparity in reading, also runaways? A lot of these kids aren't even at home and they're missing their education. It's not really on their top of their mind that while they're going through some of these emotional changes at home and leaving home, that they're not being educated. So I just believe the community outreach would be really important so that parents know, because dealing with the school system, some of these failing school systems, they're not really letting the parents know that all this extra help is available. So I just wanted to know what we're going to do for community outreach so it's more of a magnet for these. They know if they want their kids to play basketball or do physical things, they know, take them to the YMCA or the YWCA. They're in the community enough that they become a magnet for the sports and things like that. But when we talk about academics, there's nothing that the parents just ring off the top of their head. Yeah, I need to get in contact with this organization so my kid can academically excel.
Absolutely. What we believe is it's a continuum that starts prenatally and goes all the way to college and career to make a community, sustainable, viable, and build a workforce. And so those early years are critical. And you will see that continuum build stronger for school-age children, and that there will be less grade repetition, less incarcerations. The research shows that when you invest early, the whole continuum benefits. And your questions are so important about outreach, and we are modeling the seniors in terms of doing outreach to the community providers and making sure that there's something akin to a bidders conference so they learn how to access these funds. And the approach really is a no wrong door approach for parents so that when they find that there are developmental delays for their children, that they're able to access the right resources for their children.
Okay, thank you. Good. Thank you. I just finished by saying that it would be nice if we, end up getting a number like we had a 211, but a number that people, children who are struggling with education can just off the top of their head say, hey, we can get in contact with you, or a larger digital imprint within the community, with your digital website, Facebook and Twitter, just so that it is out there and easier for them to contact, because there's still people that are not aware of these services. And I guess I'll do some things with talking to some of these superintendents to see what the schools are doing to make sure these parents know that all these resources are available. And thank you for your service and everything you do for these children in education.
Thank you.
Commissioner Womack, just a point to focus on, that this is a targeted focus on ages 0 to 5. Okay? Just wanted to make sure that that's where this money is focused and targeted, is ages 0 to 5.
Thank you very much. So I guess there's still, I think, through the schools, the fact that a lot of these children that are 0 to 5 may have brothers and sisters that are in the school system. It's just, when I was reading it this week, I was just thinking that since the millage has passed, and my dealing with parents, social media, that is just not out there in the public the way we need to push it.
Oh, I would agree.
Thank you.
No, I would absolutely agree. And I am cautiously optimistic that the efforts in this group has a great plan ahead of them, and I'm personally excited to see them model themselves after the successful senior millage that has done such a great job for our community with that model. So I think it's a great way to start. But very good points. Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to, actually thank Commissioner Bukowski for bringing up the performance measures to see how we're tracking down the road, because we don't want to be spending money that isn't. Maybe some of this will work, maybe other pieces don't work so good, but we got to stay on top of that. And, I opposed this millage, not because of what their goals were, but because I thought the funding was already out there that needed to be reappropriated. And I've already spoke my piece on that. But having said that, now that we have it, when we do this review board, there was two camps. There was the people that supported the millage, people that didn't. And I would like to see, people from the other side, maybe some of these taxpayer, watchpayer groups, or some, a representative from one of these groups to sit on the board so they can inject their views as well. Now, I don't know how we go about that process, but I don't want the review board to be made up just of supporters. And maybe that's a discussion for another day. So the biggest thing with me is, many of us are suffering from, we call it millage fatigue. And I hope this works. I hope it does everything that the proponents are pushing for, and I hope it benefits us the way it was laid out. But I still think we need to do a better job of reaching out to our legislators and trying to get some of that money reappropriated from the higher education funding in this state. And I could speak for hours on that alone. But I'd suggest that everybody take a look at our higher education funding, how much money our state colleges are going, and look at their performance measures with that money, and actually try to track where that money goes once it gets on those campuses. Good luck. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from the Bureau of Equalization.
Yes, this is request to the board to adopt the 2019 Equalization Report. The Bureau of Equalization has completed the review of the 2019 assessment rolls of the 21 townships and 9 cities of Kent County. The Bureau of Equalization recommends adoption of the state equalization value of the real and personal property in the total combined amount of $29.5 billion. This is an increase of 8.74% over the 2018 SEV of $27.1 billion. The state taxable value of the real and personal property is $24.2 $2 billion, an increase of 5.8% over the 2018 STV, and of $22.8 billion. The equalization value have been prepared in accordance with MCL 211.34 as amended and in time to be submitted to the State Tax Commission by the required deadline of May 6, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion. I think we can at least have some opening comments. Matt, you're up here, so why don't you go ahead and give us some highlights before we take that from the commissioners.
Sure. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. It's my opportunity to come before you on an annual basis to be your representative to attest to you that equalization, acting on the Board of Commissioners' behalf, has fulfilled our responsibility for this core mandated function. As you are aware, as your responsibilities commissioners, there are 2 mandated reports we do each year. The first one is the equalization report, which is a summary of all of the values. And then the second one is the apportionment report, which is a summary of all of the millage rates, and that comes to you in October. So we've gone through our process this year of reviewing the 21 townships in 9 cities, and we've prepared this report for you today, so it's a pleasure to be here. I'd also like to thank, in particular, Brenda Ritchie and Julia Dwyer on my staff who've worked many hours on this, and just want to express my appreciation to them. So this year, our SEV went up 8.74%, and our taxable value went up 5.6%. This does represent the reality of what it's like to be here in West Michigan. We have a stable and very good economy, and that's reflected in the real estate transactions. And so the SEV growth of 8.74% is quite robust. The taxable value increase of 5.81% is in excess of the CPI, of course, because the CPI, although it was only 2.4% in the calculations for taxable value, we do add the new construction on top of that. So the interplay between SEV and taxable value is always dynamic because you never know exactly what properties are going to transfer and become uncapped, and you don't really know exactly the extent of the overall net new construction that comes before. So with those introductory remarks, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the report. There are no equalization factors in any of our 30 municipalities this year. They have all been found to be in conformance with the Property Tax Act, and we respectfully submit these numbers for your approval today and then ultimate approval by the board on the 25th.
Okay. Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Chair Jones. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Do you keep track of what increase in our SEV is new construction over existing properties, value increase?
Yeah, we use the term net new because it's really, there's losses, right? So places burn down and there's loss in value and then there's new. But the net new is represents 25% of the increase.
This year's?
Of this year's, yeah. And the market represents about 75% of the impact.
Say that last statement.
The market adjustment, so just the general market increase in SEV is 75% is attributed to the market adjustment and 25% of the increase is attributable to the net new.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Because, first and foremost, thank you for all the hard work. You know, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin to check your math on anything past page 3 or maybe 4 after the bar graph that we watch as the distance between equalized value and taxable value continues to grow. I mean, some could say that's a good thing. Some would say that might not be a good thing. That's a different story for today. But back to the, Prop A, either inflation or 5%, whichever is less. And so when you say the net new is 25% of that 5.8%, 7% increase of taxable value or the 8.74%?
That's the 8.74.
8.74%. And then is the other, in the sense that, again, trying to stay up way high, you know, that my house, I didn't sell it.
Right.
It might go up 8.74% in value. However, you can only raise my taxable value 2.4%, correct?
Correct.
And so it's the net new, does that include the pop-up when things get sold?
On the taxable value side, that's not net new.
That's a different category. And how much of that?
I can't believe I used the term pop-up. I swear I'd never use that. It's an uncapping of taxable value.
Sorry. So the uncapping.
The realtors marketed it as a pop-up about 15 years ago and it stuck. But yeah, it was uncapping, yeah.
And so how much of that, the 5.8 is uncapping? Like just regular churn within the market?
You know, that's a great question. I was actually running a report last night. I was expecting it to be ready on my desk this morning so I could answer that exact question. Unfortunately, it didn't run. So I can run, I ran some of our totals on what's the transfers only.
Right.
And I'll be happy to send that along through Wayman. But
yeah, I mean,
there is a known figure. We'll be able to tell you exactly what percentage of the taxable value on the whole is on just the transferred properties. It's one of those things I ran overnight.
So there are the three kind of main categories of just the, if property is going up to CPI, the uncapping, and then the net new, that get to that 5.8% increase?
I guess if I may, I'll try to answer your question using your house as the illustration, right? So your house didn't sell this year, so
and it wasn't for sale.
And it wasn't for sale.
Right,
so your house went up the 2.4% on the taxable value side. Yep. Let's just say there's a couple of houses on your neighborhood that did sell. Well, they would have gone up in excess of that 2.4%. They would have contributed to that additional growth in the taxable value due to those uncappings. So it's that same question on your street written across your community versus the entire county, where you get that taxable value growing just through the natural course of property transfers, and then also in addition to that, any new additions and new homes and new construction that's going on throughout the rest of the classes of property as well. So the overall 8.74 represents as if Proposal A did not exist. That's our SCV basis, where there is no uncappings. It's just everyone is treated exactly under the original fair and equitable system of no caps and no limitations on the valuation side. And that 5.8% is a blending of both your home and the homes on your streets that are contributing to that bump. Does that answer the question in terms of the interplay there?
Enough of an answer, thank you. And then last quick, and then the equalized value is still a theoretical 50% of cash value, in the sense that the property in the county is really worth $58 billion, or is it worth, correct?
Yeah, and I would say it's not really theoretical. We spend a lot of time trying to peg what that value is. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I mean, again,
shout out to the staff in the other room over there.
Yeah, I can tell you what Zillow thinks my house is worth, and that is just bizarre. My daughter made me look at it, and so I find that theoretical. But
okay.
But anyways.
Yeah. No, so yeah, obviously through our appraisal studies and through our sales studies, we spend a lot of time in terms of projecting what that true cash value is. So yeah, the SEV, if you double that, that is what the true cash value is projected in Kent County.
You'd find that many buyers.
Yeah.
Okay, just saying. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, Mayor, I just want to thank you and your staff for doing such a thorough job with this report. So much was in it, it didn't leave much to have to question. So I thank you for that. And as we look at our equalization value, and let's say someone from outside of Kent County, studying in Kent County, had never been here, and even though I'm asking as if someone from the outside was looking at these numbers, I'm really asking for our taxpayers who see our equalization value going up and may not understand. If you're using that as an indicator, what would that say about our growth and the economic health here, business-wise, as this has grown? Because you historically, even went back to 1992, which was great for us to see the history of this growth. But what would those indicators, what are the positive things someone would see from this growth?
Well, it's interesting because through our intergovernmental collaborations, I've been able to not only operate from here, but I've also been ancillary involved in Montcalm and also Allegan. And those experiences have really solidified to me how much the center of gravity of West Michigan, Kent County really is. Our growth is an indication of our economy, our communities, and our quality of life. And all of those things really work together to be a tremendous source of attraction. We are the center of gravity in our region, and like any force of gravity, the bigger it gets, the stronger its pull, right? So I think that we're in the epicenter of our region. I think that brings certain privileges and resources, and also a lot of responsibilities to understand how that works throughout the area. So I would just simply indicate that the growth that you see is a natural outgrowth of that positive reinforcement of the quality of life and the economy working together.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Commissioner Antor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Matt, is there any way of tracking, or do we know where we're at as far as agricultural properties in Kent County? Not so much as the revenue generated by, but the actual parcels. Is that number staying pretty level? Have we dipped? Has it gone up?
Ag stays pretty steady, and this year I believe our agricultural values grew 1.8% on the SEV side. The interplay between the agricultural area and the urban core, for example, is one that we actively study, because we have to see where are those boundaries at and how is it affecting property values. And as real estate has recovered from the Great Recession, and as the dynamics of the agricultural economy have changed, ag still remains to be fairly stable. Pure farm-to-farm sales remain fairly stable. They do grow. They fluctuate a little bit with the commodities and the specialty crops. And then we watch those areas where there's on the boundaries of development. And on those boundaries of development, in the down times, there really wasn't much of a difference. In times now that are good and the relative supply of housing is more limited, we're starting to see a little bit of development pressures right around the hard edge of the growth area. So the interplay between competing uses for land is something that's very dynamic and is changing all the time. But overall, it's by far it's our largest area, but it represents a very small overall fraction of the overall value of the county. And I would say it's still fairly stable. As we continue to grow as a region, and as we continue to discuss the areas surrounding growth, things like agricultural preservation and affordable housing, all of those issues are related to those dynamics that we're talking about in terms of the stable agricultural areas as they are, and then the challenges of growth as a community and as a
Okay. Anyone else? Thanks, Matt. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 from Kent County Community Action. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to approve contracts with community builders for the Continuum of Care program, accept and appropriate $1.4 million to the 2019-2020 Community Development Federal Project Fund from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and to authorize the board chair or designee to sign the agreements. As part of the COC program, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development has awarded funds to Kent County for sponsor-based rental assistance and tenant-based rental assistance for homeless persons. The COC program is designed to link rental assistance to supportive services to hard-to-serve homeless individuals and families. The Kent County Community Action Department recommends contracting with community builders to administer the supportive housing components of the COC program. This is based on the historical performance and relationship with community builders, which has a direct impact on HUD's scoring for this project. The contracts, if approved, will allocate $483,000 to community builders for sponsor-based rental assistance and administrative cost, and Kent County Community Action administrative cost, and $1 million to community builders for tenant-based rental assistance administrative cost and community action administrative costs. The period of the contract is from July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve agreements as to content and form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Okay.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes.
I'm actually noting that while while this contract is directly with community rebuilders, because Dwelling Place at least interacts professionally with COC and community rebuilders, I'm thinking it would be best if I recuse myself from this discussion. You know, largely just because of the tenant-based rental assistance and what happens if someone holding a community rebuilder's voucher ends up in a Dwelling Place community. So I'm gonna get a refresher on coffee while you all discuss this. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've asked this question before. I know that community rebuilders have received a substantial grant within the last year. And do we know, are we tracking how they're using that locally? And how, I see, you know, is this money that they're getting from the Department of Housing, is this money that community rebuilders would have normally picked up the tab on that, or is this something totally different? Does that make sense?
I can have Susan explain, but this is an ongoing contract. I think they've had a history, we've had a history with community builders even before it became a part of KCCA when it was Community Development and Housing, but I'll have Susan Cervantes, the Department Director, maybe explain more.
My question wasn't very clear, I guess.
Right. Well, you said, are they held accountable for the funding that they receive?
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing a great job. I've seen what they've done with veteran homelessness and, you know, and things of that nature. But I was just wondering, who is on that board, I guess, that tracks that grant money? How can they spend it?
On a monthly basis, we receive reports, the outcomes, and who's being placed into housing in both of the segments of the funding. And then we have an advisory board that we report to on the results for all of our grants.
Okay, and the grant funding I was talking about was the one they got from the philanthropic community about 6 or 7 months ago. I think they got $10 million or something like that.
Right, and that is a separate effort on their part. Our part is the sponsor-based and tenant-based assistance.
I understand that. I just, you know, they're flush with cash right now. I'm just wondering about the oversight, because we're mixed in with that now, so.
Right, and we do a monitoring. We're required by HUD to do monitoring of their grant. So we do go in, we look at their finances, their files, their placements, and their inspections. There's a quite an in-depth monitoring process that we conduct on them as a subrecipient.
And again, I say good for them. I'm glad they got that grant. You know, I just.
In addition to that, HUD comes in and audits us as well. So there's a double accountability process that exists for them.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that too, I think that receiving those funds, it really has helped the community at large too. So it's a good thing.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you. I had a similar question as Commissioner Antor, and I'll try to ask it in a slightly different way. That I understand this proposal in front of us today is 100% normal course of business. Community Rebuilders has done this for a number of years. It's going to be monitored by HUD. I understand that too well, and HUD will come in and double check the double check just to make sure we double check the double check, and we'll leave HUD alone right now. So this is the normal course of business. All is good. We're going to watch it. The question, at least the part that I see some residents, that they got this awesome opportunity, you know, I think it was only $5 million, you know, maybe it was 10, I don't know. It was a lot of money. That being said, and knowing that it's not directly related to this, at the same time, they're a partner of the COC. You know, are they planning something really cool that's going to fundamentally change what we're doing? Or are they just adding? Again, it's more of asking that question as a community partner, not saying we're not going to give them this money because they have that over there to spend. We're not saying that at all. It's more of curiosity. What are you doing with that awesome opportunity? And is there a way to, are they hanging out with you more to plan for that? Or are there's no, don't worry, we're spending over here. I mean, again, does that make any sense? I'll be quiet.
It did to me, Dave.
All right. Uh-oh. Now I'm worried.
Sorry. Even I followed that, Dave.
Uh-oh.
Well, it does make sense in that they did receive the additional funds. The situation has become dire in Kent County because of other opportunities that had presented themselves. And so what it really is a response to the homelessness situation in Kent County throughout and how they're braiding the resources. We haven't gotten down to the nitty-gritty of that, but there is a braiding of the resources so that it's the funds are used in the best way possible to assist those who are homeless.
And when you say the situation is dire, what
Well,
situation?
Kent County lost some, well, didn't lose. In November, the funding for the shelters was used up for this year. And it should have been maintained throughout June. And so in November, there wasn't money left based on the need, because the need through November was great. And so now these additional funds are helping to fill that gap where their funding had been fully utilized. And so then we didn't have to, as a group and as the COC, immediately stop serving the homeless population. We were able to then, with this additional funding from the foundation and with our funding, to keep these programs going.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Sparks.
I just have to say I appreciate the work that Community Rebuilders is doing in our community. You've come a long way, and just for a couple of the other commissioners, I know that they have a check and balance system now, whereas you didn't have it in the past, so that people are not able to pull on the funds, but they're able to distribute those to more individuals.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 6, also from Kent County Community Action. Wayman?
Yeah, this is a request to authorize the board chair or administrator controller to sign agreements with the Michigan Department of Transportation for state or federal funds for passenger transportation related services. In September 2017, the Board of Commissioners authorized the transfer of agreements, obligations, and property and employees from Area Community Service Employment and Training Council to Kent County in the context of forming our Community Action Program. This transfer included grant agreements, one of which was a master agreement with the Michigan Department of Transportation that provides state or federal funds for passenger transportation-related services. MDOT requires a resolution designating who is authorized to sign documents associated with the MDOT master agreement. The proposed action confirms the board chair or administrator controller are authorized to sign these grant documents.
Is there a motion to approve?
So, support.
Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
I just had a quick question. Could you provide some examples of using state and federal funds for passenger transportation services through Asset? Is it supporting the existing network? Is it providing bus passes?
We're not Asset anymore. We're Kent County Community Action.
Forgive me.
Okay, and we do have a fleet of vehicles that we have had for about 33 years now. And the reason it's coming up now, and it didn't come up during the transition, although we have the Municipal Partnership Act that was approved and we have tons of documents, is that it usually takes us 3 years to get vehicles. And the application that we're working on right now we applied for in 2016 when we were Asset Community Action. And so the funding has just become available. It's for 2 vehicles. And so it was just missed that the resolution naming Wayman as our authorizing official. And so the money is sitting there for us, and we might get the buses by September 30th, they said, but we just didn't have the right signature.
So, if you could just run me through essentially, if you have your own fleet of buses, is this largely people meeting at either the county building where CAA is, or where CCA is, and going to a workstation or a training station? Can you just provide a little more detail?
We provide rides for persons who are 60 and older.
Okay, this is gotcha.
And or disabled.
Gotcha. Okay,
this is the and so it's to medical, dental, recreational rides, and we take them shopping if necessary.
Perfect.
And it's through the Ride Link process, and then we also have the MDOT contract.
Perfect.
And it's countywide, so we're up in Sand Lake and we're down in Byron Center. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 7 from Fiscal Services. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to appropriate an additional $56,000 to the 2018 Zoo and Museum Fund budget from actual revenue collections. The County Board of Commissioners authorized dedicated millage for the John Ball Zoo and Grand Rapids Public Museum via Resolution 11-17-16-107. The dedicated funding is used for the care of animals and artifacts, repair and improvements of exhibits, and enhanced educational programs. As part of the 2018 General Operating Act, the Board of Commissioners appropriated $9.5 million to the 2018 Zoo and Museum Fund millage fund budget. However, 2018 actual revenue collections were $9.6 million. To bring the budget in line with the 2018 revenue collections, it is requested that an additional $56,000 be appropriated to the Zoo and Museum millage fund from additional personal property tax revenue.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion to approve and supported. Thank you, Commissioner Voorhees, for moving that. Questions, comments, and discussion?
It was a surprise.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to our Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any miscellaneous this morning? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski?
I just have one thing related to community rebuilders. For those of us with long memories, I coincidentally ran into Ron Eberhard during spring break, and he sends his greetings to those of us back in Grand Rapids. So Ron was part of community rebuilders back in the day, as we like to say.
Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Antor?
Yeah, yesterday, I was watching the Cathedral Notre Dame going up in smoke, and I was just reflecting back. That's 870-year-old building, and when you look at some of the shots of the interior, if you've never been there before, just when something like that happens, we'll never get that back, and no matter what they try to do, they can't bring that back, and it was real sad for me. It just struck me as it's an iconic building for sure throughout the world, and just one of those moments where you kind of reflect. And then also, I'd like to say a brighter note, but it really isn't. I've had so many people asking me about the impending birth of my kidney stone, and so I figured I'm going to tell you, right now it's sitting still, and they're going to go in on April 30th for the second time to try to get that rascal, and I just hope that everybody in this room never has to go through a kidney stone. My guess is most of you probably have, but anyhow, thanks for all the well wishes on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Reevy?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to let everybody know, and it was on the news this morning, and I got a notice about it yesterday. Pine Rest has opened an urgent care facility, and it's in my district in Gaines Township on just off of 68th Street near Madison at their Van Andel Center there, and that's for adults ages 18 to 65. So if you know someone in the community that's dealing with mental illness that could use some urgent care, that is going to be a fantastic resource, and it accepts most insurance along with Medicare and Medicaid. So if there's any questions, you can go to the Pine Rest website, or you know, you can ask me and I can help you find the info. So thanks.
Commissioner Voorhees?
To that point, at our South Kent Rotary Club, we had a presentation from Byron Ministries, I believe it was, opening up something along this line. I'm just so thankful. The speaker spoke that was the time of the mother up in northern Kent County that took the life of her family and that. And sometimes, you know, somebody gets a broken arm, they'll go right and get help. But people who have sometimes a mental or depression problem got to treat it like a broken arm and go get some help. And so it's really great news. I think we got to see more of that we are looking at mental illness in a different way than maybe has been done in the past. So good news. Thank you, Emily.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I am on the Network 180 board, and I just really want to thank the partners on that board for their hard work of coming up with a 2-year plan. That 2-year plan also has added some extra oversight that is going to save our taxpayers almost $7 million a year. But saving that money also is going to save jobs and position within the mental health area. And just the incredible work that they've done for this 2-year plan has just been astronomical to see that since I've been on the board. So I just want to thank everybody that's on that board for their hard work. And one of the reasons they have to save money is because the state has pulled back on some of the funding for mental health. But just to see this great work that was done, I just definitely wanted to send some accolades to everybody that's working in mental health on those budgets.
Yes, Commissioner Whitten?
Thank you, Madam Chair. After everyone's profound comments, mine seems a little elementary, but I did want to publicly thank administration for finally bringing coffee mugs to our committee and board meetings. So thank you very much. We can save a little paper, and I think you get more coffee out of it. So thank you very much.
Okay, I have a few things. Pam wanted me to just mention to the fellow commissioners here that we have a board photo tentatively scheduled for Thursday, April 25th. She wanted me to remind everyone that if you wanted to register for the Certified Tourism Ambassador Training, to please do that, along with letting her know if you're going to go to the Toast of the Town. So those are the 3 things that you should have seen notes on from Pam. So please make a note of that and contact her before you leave if you think any of those things are items you're going to engage in. I personally am a CTA, and I highly recommend that program if you haven't. You will learn a lot, and it will totally change how you walk the streets of Grand Rapids. It makes you more aware, and I have personally been able to help folks who are looking up because that's one of the indicators that they don't know where they're going. And I ask them, may I help you find where you're going? And they always say that would be great. So that's how that's gone for me so far, and that was all from that CTA training. So, all right, with that being said, we are adjourned, and the next meeting is May 7th at 8:30 a.m.
I am Kent County. I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Beya, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos, Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County. We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. Oh yeah.